This is J. Krishnamurti's second public talk in Bombay, 1980.
I hope we may continue with what we were talking about on Wednesday evening. We were concerned with the nature of the mind. The mind being all the responses of the senses, emotions, and the constant movement of thought. And we were concerned whether that whole nature of the mind, which is the mind of every human being, which has evolved through many millennia, with all its vast experience, knowledge, and the many incidents and accidents and griefs and sorrows, and the continual pursuit of pleasure, fears, anxieties, and many varieties of conflict. Man has lived in that state. Man being the woman and the man, not just the man alone. And as long as we are merely functioning within the field of knowledge, which is the brain, which is the mind, with all the accumulated knowledge, then in that field, action becomes fragmented. We'll go into it very carefully. But before we go into it, we must be clear that we are thinking together. This is really, if you don't mind my repeating it over and over again, very important. We never think together. Each one thinks according to his own particular desires, conclusions, concepts and ideals, hopes, and so on. So there is never coming together in our thinking, in our feeling, in our observing. And as our brains and mind are the result of thousands and thousands of years, that brain and that mind is not yours or mine. It's not an individual mind. It's the mind of all humanity. I think this must be made perfectly clear right from the beginning. What we consider our special brain, our special mind, has evolved through millennia. That is a fact. Your brain is the result of thousands of years of experience, so-called evolution. Evolution being a series of accumulation of knowledge through time. That's a fact. It's not the speaker's invention or the speaker's desire, hope, but that's a fact. The fact being that your mind is the result of thousands of years, and that mind is not your mind. It's the mind of all humanity. You are the humanity. Please, we must understand this very carefully together. Because all humanity throughout the world suffers. All human beings go through various forms of struggle, conflict, despairs, desperate loneliness, grief, anxiety, uncertainty, confusion. This is the lot of man, as you are the rest of mankind. You are the mankind. If one could understand that, not intellectually, not verbally, but the truth of it, inwardly. When one feels this, the reality of it, the truth of it, then this separate, isolated activity, self-centered, ends. You are concerned then with the whole of mankind. You know, that gives one a tremendous vitality. Because when we narrow this brain and this mind to a individual self-centered activity, as we are doing now throughout the world, that is, me is the most important idea, the me and the you. On that we live. But when one realizes the fact, and the brain specialists are also saying now that the whole of the brain, please understand all this, the whole of your brain retains memory. It is memory. Memory being accumulated knowledge through experience. That's a fact. And as long as we function within that area, which is limited, because all knowledge is limited, there is no complete knowledge, both in science, biology, archaeology, in any direction where knowledge is operating, is always limited. Right? This is so. And therefore, that knowledge is always within the shadow of ignorance. Right? Please understand this, because we are going to go into the various questions which involves our daily life. Until we understand this very carefully, see this, the truth of it, that our minds are the rest of mankind. If you see the truth of it, there's great beauty in it. There's a sense of total responsibility. Not responsibility to your family, to your jobs, to this or that. You are totally responsible for all mankind. So we are going to think together to find out whether our energy is limited always, or is there an energy which is limitless? Because now our energy is limited by our actions, by our education, by our narrow nationalism, by our beliefs, by our gods, by our religions. It's all canalized, right? You're following all this? And when energy is limited, its activity must also be limited, right? So we're going to find out if it is possible for human beings to act so that their action is not fragmented, broken down, and therefore in that there is a great deal of conflict, which is a wastage of energy. Right? You are following all this? Please don't be mesmerized by the speaker. Don't go to sleep. We are not giving out ideas. We are not disseminating some concepts. We are together, you and the speaker together, finding out for ourselves, in which there is no authority whatsoever. Though the speaker sits on a platform, it doesn't give him any authority, right? Sitting on a platform is merely for convenience. And so we must forget or put aside, when we are listening to the speaker, that we are together moving, walking as two friends, so that we can discover for ourselves the truth of things, which is beyond all belief, all tradition, all gods, all concepts. So if we have established a relationship between you and the speaker, not only verbally, but intellectually, and also actually. You understand the difference between actuality and the verbal capacity of the intellect to grasp the meaning of words, translate those words into concepts, and live according to those concepts. We are not doing that. We are dealing with actuality. That is what is actually taking place now. One can only deal with that, not with concepts. You understand all this? Please. Because concepts, ideas, ideals are non-facts. What is actually happening are facts. So we are dealing with what is actually happening to each one of us. And most of us want to avoid that. Because it's much easier to talk about concepts, ideals, and all the rest of that nonsense, and never come to face what is actually actually going on in our daily, miserable, limited life. Right? So please, if I may request you most seriously, we are dealing with actuality, not with ideas. Right? The word idea comes from the Greek and Latin and so on, which means to observe. Means to observe. Not observe, make an abstraction of it into an idea, into a concept. You're following on this? So we are concerned with our daily life, what is actually going on inwardly, inside the skin as it were, and also what is happening outwardly. The outward and the inner are like the tides of its sea, going in and going out. Right? I wonder. Now we're saying our brains have extraordinary capacity. Untold capacity. As you can observe in the technological field, what human beings have done. The atom bomb, the surgery, the medicine, transportation, the division between people and so on. The brain has got extraordinary capacity. And that capacity is narrowed down by our tradition, by our books, by our beliefs, by our constant battle with each other. I hope you understand all this. So this vast energy is brought down into a small, narrow groove. It took energy for you to come here. It took energy for you to put aside some time, to have leisure, to come here. When we talk, when we see, when we think, when we feel, all that demands energy. Right? Everything that we do demands energy. But this energy, instead of flowering, increasing to a vast degree, we have brought it down to a small area, which is our daily, miserable, conflicting, contradictory life. Right? Do we see that as an actuality? Or when you listen to this, are you translating what is being said into an abstraction which becomes an idea? You follow what I'm saying? So the speaker is asking, how do you listen? How do you receive a statement of this kind? Do you listen, or do you resist? Or in the very act of listening, you are translating it to your own convenience, to your own comfort, resisting so that you continue in your tradition, in your work, and so on, so on, so on. So it's very important to find out how you listen. You're following this? Do you listen at all? That you naturally, you hear with the ear, but the hearing with the ear is very limited, right? You hear the words, the meaning of the words, and there you generally stop. You don't pursue the full meaning of the words, the full content of the words. Because the word is the expression of thought. Thought, as we pointed out the other day, is limited. Because knowledge is limited. And knowledge, which is experience, and therefore it becomes memory, and that memory is limited. And when we listen, we are listening with thought. I wonder if you understand that. Or we come. May we go on? Right? Are we listening with thought or merely listening? You see the difference of the two? I can listen to what you are saying, arguing with you, with non-verbally arguing, a dialogue, and never listening to what you are saying. Because my thought is interfering with listening to what you are saying. Right? So can you listen without the movement of thought interfering, which is quite an arduous thing if you've gone into it. Because we're always listening not only with the ear, hearing with the ear, but also listening not only to what you are saying, but also listening to the thought which is interfering with what you are saying. I wonder, right? So can you listen without the movement of thought interfering with the act of listening? Because we are going to go into the question, as we are doing now, as long as we live, narrowing all our energy to a self-centered activity, life must become tortuous, full of anxiety, grief, sorrow. Because we are reducing this vast energy to a small, narrow, little groove, right? So we are going to find out through all these talks whether it is possible to release this total energy. Do you understand my question? And so first, we must find out what is order. Is there absolute order? Or is order always relative? You're following what? The housewife wants order in her kitchen. And she doesn't like to stand in a queue to get a piece of bread. She wants order. And the businessman wants order. So that his investment is earning, and so on, and his avoidance of taxes, and so on. He says, please give me order, security. So we translate order into security. Right? As long as we are secure in our job, having money, and so on, we think that will bring about order. Right? We want order. Now, the brain can only function excellently when there is order, when there is no self-contradiction. You following all this? When there is no sense of competition, when there is no striving, struggling. The brain demands security, to have security in order to function efficiently. This is what you do in business, or if you are a professor, or if you are whatever you are, you need security to function skillfully or not skillfully, right? So the brain is seeking security. I do not know if you have noticed. In your daily life, there is disorder, right? Please face it, look at it. Don't dodge it. There is disorder. And when you sleep, the brain tries to bring about order in this disorder. Have you noticed it? That when you wake up the next morning, you find some kind of order is being established. Haven't you noticed all these things? You're a strange set of people. So we are going to find out whether there is absolute order, irrevocable, immovable order, or order which is relative, convenient, comfortable, safe, and all that. You following all this? Order means, the root meaning of that word, coming from Latin and so on, is to originate, to grow, to increase. You follow? Now, order, according to knowledge, is limited order, right? I wonder if you follow all this. May I ask, if you don't mind, most respectfully, are you also working as the speaker is working? You understand? Working. Your minds, your brains are active. Thinking, investigating, observing. Or you are just sitting there, just listening. And so gradually going to sleep. Which is the factor? Are you working, thinking, observing actively now? So, we are now asking, what is order? Because without order, the brain cannot be secure. When there is disorder, the brain is all the time trying to create out of this disorder some kind of order. because it can only function in complete order at its highest excellence. Right? This is so. Now we are asking, what is order? We accept the order as following certain dictions, certain ideals, and so on. Order, according to the totalitarian people, is accept the authority, right? Whether the Maoist authority, Marxist authority, or the authority of the Pope, or the authority of your guru, or the authority of the books. You follow? In following, in accepting authority, you think there will be order. Not only outwardly, but also inwardly. Right? And our brains are trained to accept authority. Do you know? I don't know. Please tell me what to do. And so what happens? When you accept authority, so that there can be order, your mind is not actively alive to find out. You are not investigating. You gradually, your mind and brain becomes dull, which is what is happening in this country. Right? So, order based on knowledge, please follow this. Order based on knowledge, and knowledge being limited, order must also be limited. See the fact of it. Please go into it with me. If I base my desire to have order according to what I already know, or according to certain sanctions, which is based on knowledge, that order will inevitably bring about disorder. You got it? So, any order based on knowledge must inevitably bring disorder. I wonder if you see the beauty of this. And is there an order which is not based on knowledge? You understand my question? You're following this? Please, come with me. Let's move together. Because this is very important to find out. As we said, energy which is expended on the accumulation of knowledge, and the energy expended on that knowledge in action, which we think will bring order, will invariably bring disorder. This is a fact. So we are asking, is there order beyond the limitation of knowledge? Look, mathematics is order based on knowledge. Order according to science is based on knowledge. All the political, economic investigation, acceptance, and so on is again based on knowledge. And all your politics are based on knowledge. Whether it's personal ambition, and so on. So our question is there an order which is so absolute, which is not based on human accumulation of knowledge, memory, thought? You get it? Please find out. We are walking together, and we are two friends walking along the same road, friendly. The word friendly means affection, love, care. We are two friends walking together. And this is a very important question which affects both of them in their daily life. So they're not resisting. They're walking, looking at the trees, the hills, the water, the birds, and also saying, is there absolute order? Then, if there is, the brain is so completely secure, it can act at its highest excellence. You follow this? Now we're going to find out if there is an order beyond thought. Right? Now what do you mean by word order? We must be clear for both of us. When we use the word order, what do we mean by it? As we said, the origin of that word is the beginning. Right? The beginning. Not the end. Not the cause. But the very beginning of energy. I want to feel it all. You understand my question? Order implies a state of mind which is not merely, which can also act where thought is necessary, but also be free of thought so that it has an order of the universe. Okay. So, the universe which is the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, the new moon and the full moon, the bright stars, they are in complete order. Right? If the sun didn't rise tomorrow for the next few days, we'd all be dead. There is order in the universe. And that order is not based on our thought. You're following? Follow this, please. See the beauty of it. Come. Nature is not put together by thought. Thought has, out of nature, created various things, table, chairs, and so on, out of the earth. But the earth, the nature, the stars, the beauty of the heavens, the waters, is not put together by thought. And they function, if man doesn't interfere, in complete order. Right? There is total, complete order, absolute order. Now, we're going to find out if in our daily life such absolute order can come into being. You understand my question? We accept disorder, right? Not only outwardly, but inwardly. Corruption is disorder. The lack of efficiency in the highest places is disorder. When there is quarrel between two people, that's disorder. When man treats woman as though she was mere chattel, as it happens in this country, where you don't respect a woman, that is disorder. And without creating order between man and woman, you want to find out the absolute order. You're following what I'm saying? Which is, without understanding disorder and acting so as to eliminate disorder in our daily life, you cannot possibly understand the other. You can speculate upon it, write thesis, take a PhD, become a philosopher. Those are just nonsensical, irrational, irrelevant activities when we are concerned with disorder in our daily life. You following all this? Now, you've heard that. Will you realize how you treat women? Right? And change it. Say, yes, I agree, it is so. We do ill-treat our women. We have no respect for them. We use them for sexual purposes to breed our children. And if you have a girl, she has a pretty bad time. You know all this. And that's disorder. And unless you change that radically, you cannot possibly find out an order that is so absolute. You following all this? Will you do it? No, you won't. And that's why our society is degenerating, corrupt. Because we think one thing and do totally different things. So, as we are saying, the release of energy can only come totally, fully, completely when there is absolute, irrevocable order. The order of cosmos. And when there is order, there is a totally different kind of action. You following all this? Now look, what is action? In which we are all involved. To come here is action. To listen is action. To think is action. Not just moving from here to there physically, or going to the office and sweating in the office for the next 50 years. That's also action. to talk to your wife, to sleep with her, to do anything is action. And the word action means not having done or will do, but to act now. You understand? That is action. You are sitting there listening, that's action. But if you are listening and thinking it over, and I say, I'll think about this tomorrow, that is not action. So we are saying action is what is taking place now. Whether that action now is based on the past, memories, past knowledge, past incidents, past suffering, or acting according to a future concept, future ideals, right? So which is it that you are doing? Are you acting according to what you have already known, right? Or acting according to some concept, ideals, premeditated resolves, or observing what is going on and acting immediately? You see the difference? I wonder if you see it. Am I struggling for myself with all this? Or are you also working? Because it's your life, not my life. So action means order, not based on memory. Go into it, sir, you will see it. There is such an action which is so absolute, which is correct, precise, unchangeable, that can only take place when you realize the past, please follow this, the past meets the present, modifies itself and becomes the future, right? That's what you're doing. Your past has told you you are this and that, a Hindu with all its tradition and so on, and meets the present, the economic, the overpopulation, the lack of jobs, the corruption, all that modifies itself and goes on to the future. So we are living all the time within this area, within this movement. The past, meeting the present, modifying itself, proceeding. Right? That is what we call time. I wonder if you're following all. Now, is there an action which is not based on this? This is not useless speculation. The speaker is not given to speculation. He won't speculate. He won't theorize. He deals only with facts, which is what is actually happening. So, what is actually happening is this movement from the past to the present, modified future. That's what we are doing all the time. And in that process is our action. And therefore, that action is always limited. And hence, it must invariably bring about conflict. Right? conflict, man, woman, with each other, with nature, with the universe. It's a conflict, right? So we are asking, is there an action which gives absolute order, right? Action means order. And to find out that, sir, which is part of meditation, is to find out how you live in your daily life. Whether there is an action of postponement, you understand? Or action based on remembrance. And when you realize that postponement and remembrance, it will invariably bring about contradiction and therefore conflict. Then when one realizes that, now the question from that arises is, what do you mean by realizing? You understand? You understand my question? When you say, I realize it, I understand it, what do you mean by that? Do you understand the meaning of words? Therefore, you intellectually grasp the meaning, and there it ends. With most of you, that is the fact. See, yes, I follow everything you are talking about very clearly. It's so logical, it seems so true, so on, so on. And there you remain. Which means what? Your intellect has been trained to accept words and theories totally unrelated to the rest of the whole movement of human being. You following this? That's how you're trained. Your education is that. This tremendous cultivation of memory, as a businessman, as a professor, as a scientist, and so on, totally unrelated, irrelevant to our life. Right? So we are asking, can one live in this world, this world being our jobs, our family, children, pleasure, pain, all the nonsense that goes on around us in every department, especially religious world, which is monstrous. Can we live a life of action? Life is action. Life is a relationship. Can we live and act without this whole momentum of the past changing itself in the present and moving? You follow? Can there be an end to it? You understand what I'm saying? I'll show you there can be go into it with me, you'll find out. If you're serious, not playing games with yourself or with the speaker. Now, as I said, as the speaker said, the past memory modifying itself with the present movement, then changing. This is our life, which means always moving in time. Right? Now, is there an action which is so immediate it doesn't allow time? You follow what I'm saying? It's all new to you, so please listen to me. First listen. To us, action is based on knowledge, time. ignorance, memory, thought, right? Our actions are based on thought. And so thought is always limited, which we went into. I won't go repeat over and over again. Therefore, that action, being fragmented, must invariably bring about various, many problems. Right? Is there an action which is not within the field of time? You got it? Time being memory, knowledge, movement. I'll show you how, if you are interested, go into it. Which means action is always non-action. You understand? We are never acting, which is only now. We're always acting according to the past or according to the future. Therefore, there is never complete action now. I wonder if you grasp that, right? Do you see that at least? Intellectually grasp it. Now we are saying, we are asking, is there an action which will bring complete order and act so that there is not a residue as pain or regret, sorrow and all the rest of it? You understand my question? That is, we have to investigate or look into the question, what is observation? You're following with me? What is to observe? Have you observed anything that is given your full attention to observe a tree? Right? To observe. Not observe, translate, and say good or bad, or I like, I don't like. Just to observe. Right? Have you ever done it? If you're honest, you haven't. Have you ever observed without all the memory, without all the associations of the person with whom you are intimate? Have you ever observed that person? Have you ever observed your wife, your children, your neighbor, your politicians, or your blessed gurus? Have you ever observed them? Or you are so differential and so nonsensical that you never look. I'm going to show you something. I'll come with together. That is to observe. Observe without the word. Right? Can you do it? Do it. Please look at it. See what happens. That is to observe a tree, a woman, a man, a child, anything. The bird on the wing, the waters. To observe without the word, without the association that word creates, without all the responses of that word which is memory, just to observe. Now, when you so observe, in which there is no observer, you understand? Oh Lord, I'll explain. Aren't you tired? Huh? Don't say no, sir, because at the end of the day you have been working, office and all the boredom of the office. And don't say, we have talked over an hour and 5 minutes. You must be tired. You understand? Your brains must be so tremendously active. Probably you're stimulated by the speaker for the time being. And so you are using the speaker as a drug. And then when the drug wears off, you're back to your home. So we are saying, observe without the movement of thought coming into your observation. That is, the movement of thought is the observer, right? Who is the residue of all the past experiences. And he observes through the observer. You following all this? Now, can you observe without the observer? You understand what I'm saying? I observe you. If I am prejudiced, I say I don't like that. I don't like that color, too red. He belongs to this group or that group. He's wearing this and wearing that. You follow? All these are movements of thought interfering with actual observation. Right? When you so observe without the observer, in that perception, in that seeing, there is immediate action which is unrelated to memory. Right? You're following all this? Now, do it. So we are saying there is an action which is totally unrelated to knowledge. Knowledge being limited, and therefore your action then becomes limited. You're following all this? Whereas if you observe, now wait a minute. Observing is not only with your eyes, observing, listening, learning, all that is a movement of complete perception. You understand? You understand, sir? No, you don't. I know. Sir, look, you are so used to explanations, commentaries. Somebody has to tell you all this. You don't find out for yourself. You don't say, look, I'm going to find out. I'll spend an hour in this. You have leisure, and spend that leisure. No, sir, the word leisure means a place where you can learn. You understand? School comes from the word leisure. You are sitting down here, you have leisure. So you can learn now. But your learning is limited because you're not observing, you're not listening. You don't put your whole mind, your body, your heart, your senses in to find out. So we are saying that there is this vast capacity of the brain, the mind, astonishing capacity, unlimited capacity. And that capacity, that tremendous energy is now limited, and so brings about disorder, right? Disorder between people, between groups of people, between community, between this guru and that guru, between their beliefs, all that is disorder. And we are expending our energy in disorder. And I'm pointing out that there is order, total, complete order, which is the order of the universe, when you understand the whole movement of knowledge and inquiring if there is action, if there is order, beyond all knowledge, beyond all experience. For that, you have to find out how you observe yourself, how you observe the nature, how you observe your boss, your wife, your friends, your children. Observe. In that observation, there's great care, great affection. And from that care, affection, attention, there is immediate action. Please, this is not a theory to the speaker. This is his life. This is the way he lives. And I'm pointing most respectfully and humbly, you can do it. If you give your mind, your heart, your whole being to find out how to live correctly.